Doing its thing, doing its thing. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I am here with some of my co-authors for the book, All You Need Is Love. And this book, Betsy and Kate are gonna share with you how this book was born. But I'm excited to be a co-author in this book because this topic of spiritual bypassing is something that's near and dear to my heart, because like many of you, you've seen it all and you're sick of the spiritual platitudes when they're not backed by integrity. So that's what this book is all about, sharing all the different spiritual platitudes and our thoughts and opinions on that. And Betsy, why don't you take it away and share with us your thoughts and how this book was born for you.
Well, you know, I'm going to let Kate go first.
Okay, go ahead, Kate.
I love it. Wow. Well, Betsy and I have been co-conspirators in a lot of projects over the years, ever since What the Bleep Do We Know came out in 2005, and I worked with the filmmakers on that. And over the years since What the Bleep, we've inevitably, you know, kind of being like right there with the pulse of the whole New Thought spirituality movement and watching what's going on and seeing how all the messaging of the bleep was received, and then everything becomes quantum love and quantum, you know, abundance and quantum babysitting and, you know, quantum money hunting. And, you know, after about 10 years, we began to scratch our heads and go, wow, look at how thinned out and superficial this is getting. And then add another, oh my God, another 5 years onto that. And we became really distressed, I don't know a better word for it, by all of the, thank God it's got a label now, spiritual bypassing, but the superficiality that was starting to shine forth through all of these ancient truths, these amazing mystical insights that have been with us ever since the Adi Yogi 30,000 years ago in India, and become trivialized into 3-day workshops for abundance, enlightenment, and oh yes, you'll get your soulmate and a money back guarantee.
No money back guaranteed, none of that though.
And I'm like, well, maybe not for you.
They don't usually offer your money back, but you know.
So, yeah, as usual, we were probably having a glass of wine as we were talking one night, and it just kind of percolated to the top, Susie. It was just like, enough already. What can we do? And then, of course, you know, being authors and filmmakers, and we just went, well, let's do a book. And well, what's it going to be about? It's going to be about spiritual cliche and bypassing. And let's shine a light on this and step up and go, there's so much more. We've got to dive deep. This is a long, not necessarily long, but it's kind of 99% of the time a long, deep, often arduous process of waking up out of this life we've got going in the physical body. So that's how All You Need Is Love was born. And how did we come on the title for this, Bets?
Wine.
No, that would have been All You Need Is Wine, darling.
No, Kate and I, not only have we worked together for 100 years, we're also probably best friends. We're dear, close friends. And we last night we did it again. You know, Kate and I call each other, and you know how we came on the title with this and kind of why the cover looks the way that it looks is because a big part of how we are currently digesting our information is through social media. It is in our face all the time. And I am as guilty as probably everybody else in the planet around that. And I think what happened is I saw a meme. I think the meme that is in my chapter, which was I can't remember the exact meme and I can't look at it right now. Too many buttons going on. Oh, good. Trina joined us. Hi, Miss Trina. Just kind of mute yourself there and we'll introduce you in 1 second. So I saw this meme that was basically about, look, how you feel is your fault is basically what it said. And it really bothered me because I thought, you know what, that's actually not necessarily true, because that just gives the person who's being a jerk permission to be a jerk. And it's your fault if you react. Now, okay, look, in the true, you know, Buddha mindset, sure, you can be one of those people that doesn't react ever to anything, but that's not being human. And what I've seen occur over and over again is that people take that idea, well, how you react to me is your problem, as an abuse tool. It turned into a way to give people excuse to abuse other people. I could be a jerk, and how you respond is your problem. And that was my rant that night, Kate, of like, God, this is so frustrating. And Kate's right. What do Kate and I do when we get on a rant? We make something, we create something, because it's not enough for us just to sit there drinking wine and ranting about it. We get a sense that we're not alone in this conversation, which is why there's so many really amazing authors contributing to really powerful stories and spiritual truth to this book, because we started to ask around and we found out a lot of people are thinking this very same thing. So that's where the book came from. And what I'd like to do now is, we've got some wonderful, I noticed we have all the women. We were supposed to have a couple of men on here, but it's all the women. So there are men in the book, I promise. But I want to go through and introduce some of the authors and let them share about what specifically they wrote about and why they wanted to be a part of this book. By the way, just so everybody knows, it's available. Today is pub day. It's available on Amazon. Just search All You Need Is Love, or you can search my name and you can find the book. And apparently, so I'm told, it's also Prime Day. So a lot of people got a $10 coupon in their mailboxes.
It is Prime Day.
It is Prime Day, and they've also reduced the price of the book for Prime Day, so you can literally get the book for $1. So go, please support us, because when you buy a book today, you help us get up in the ratings of the book. And then if you buy the book, I just want to ask everybody, please write a review, even if you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, I'm okay with that. You can write a "I hated this book" review, and I'm totally okay with that, although I don't think that you will.
I can imagine that.
That helps us. I mean, I want to know why you didn't like the book, but I want to know, I know you're going to love it. And that helps our authors, really helps them get visibility. And part of the reason that Kate and I really banded together and started to really create Rampant Feline Media this year was because we realized in our own sphere of friends and colleagues that we have some amazing voices that don't have the time to write books, a whole book, or don't have the money to write a book. And the publishing industry is just tough. And we wanted to create a space for them to have a voice and for our readers to hear them. And that's what's really powerful about this book and all of the Rampant Feline books. But anyway, we are going to start with Christine. Christine Upchurch, tell us your name, unmute yourself, tell us your name, and give us like a 1-minute outline of your chapter.
Okay, Christine Upchurch, and my chapter is about the downside to seeking. We define ourselves as spiritual seekers, and we often don't look at the downsides, the way seeking can lead to myopic focus, the way it can make us sort of lead by ego and striving and struggle, as opposed to allowing and being open to what is. And so I decided to take on that fundamental principle of what it means to be spiritual, and that is to seek, to be a seeker. And I also did a little research and found that "seek and ye shall find" was mistranslated when it was translated into English. So I addressed that in the chapter, and about how we can avoid the downside. So it was about my own personal journey, and it's also about how I think that we need to get beyond the spiritual bypassing and embrace all of who we are and stop compartmentalizing spirituality.
That I love that. I think that there's been a big push in everybody finding their voice and speaking their truth. Do you remember what your meme was?
Seek and ye shall find.
Seek and you shall find. I hate it when people tell me that. Ask and you shall receive. Like, I've been asking for years for $10 million and a hot billion, and neither one of them keeps showing up. So and then we go into, it must be my fault. I must be the failure because I'm not getting what I'm seeking. I must be not spiritual enough or bad.
Well, we've been taking a very masculine approach, seeking like a hunter, going after that buffalo with myopic focus, when in fact, I think the true translation is more about seeking like a gatherer, more feminized approach to, yes, having some goals, but going out into that forest, and yes, we're after berries, but we find the young tender greens, and being open to the sustenance that the universe is automatically putting before us. And if we're looking for that buffalo, then we miss it altogether.
So I should stop looking for hot Brazilian buffalo. Is that what you're saying? And start looking for the cherries and the seeds? No, I'm just kidding. I get it. No, I love it. I think we should, that's true. You should, one of my biggest pet peeves is that people will sit down and meditate on some ginormous, I want this big thing. And then they think that that's what they have to do. And they forget all the pathway, the journey to getting there. And the journey is really where the depth and the meaning and the soul comes from. And we don't even know why it is we want that big thing. And if we did the work to realize, well, getting that Mercedes would make me feel better as a person, oftentimes if we do that work, then we realize we don't really need the Mercedes. So that's what you're talking about. And I love that. Thank you, Christine. All right, I'm going to go next to Linda. Linda Seacrest, tell me, unmute yourself and tell us about your chapter.
My chapter was very enlightening for me because it really was, Kate was a great editor. She made me take a walk down memory lane, which I don't normally do because I live in the present. And so having to take that walk down memory lane and then come up with the details, ended up to be my deep dive. So I don't care if no one else gets it. I went back to get it. I went back to the well and got that. Enlightenment was something that I had pursued. And the meme is enlightenment is something that you can achieve, not, capital N, capital O, capital T. Because in the end, as I kept going further and further down the well of language, it's an abstract thought that has to be concretized in a language so that someone can wrap their brain around it and go, oh my God, why didn't I get that? And the aha is that it has nothing to do with the I, it has nothing to do with the me, it has nothing to do with the mind. It has to do with a realization, and that it's everybody can have the realization, but it's a dropping of something. It's nothing to achieve. It's nothing to get. No 3-day weekend is going to give you that. And I really want other people to get it. So having to describe the journey was invaluable for me, and having to come up with a language that I could wrap my brain around and others could too, was a blessing, actually. So I want to thank Kate for inviting me. And this is how I met her, because I interviewed her for Natural Awakenings. And actually I would like to say that I probably owe a lot of my awakening to Natural Awakenings, because it's the necessary part of my work was to read all these books, interview authors, and write articles. And I have to say, Betsy, like you, after The Secret and after What the Bleep, I finally had to ask the publishing houses who send me their books to read and review and use for resources, please stop sending me these books, because it was just another reiteration of the same old in different words. And it wasn't the reality. I mean, it was illusory, which is not serving anybody. But I'm really glad we're past that phase, Betsy and Kate.
Yeah.
And I hope that my book my chapter leads others when they read it to the end of that, if they're still stuck on The Secret and they're still stuck on What the Bleep.
Yeah, sometimes I have to apologize for making What the Bleep, because, because in a way we did oversimplify quite a bit, because it's a movie. And I think that's part of one of the things that, I shared in my chapter was, a lot of these memes and quotes and concepts that we pull that we post and that we share and that we read are part of a deeper concept. You know, many of the authors and the people that we're quoting, you know, probably devoted an entire chapter or maybe even an entire book to the concept that we're now distilling onto social media as here's the wisdom, this is it. And part of what I realized even for myself was that, you know, I've gotten so busy, so overwhelmed that I'm just looking for the quick fix. And I want to say, you know, our goal here is not to diminish those 3-day workshops and those retreats and those coaches, because I know a lot of them and they offer valuable, powerful, profoundly transformative information. The trick is, what we're trying to say is that it's important for you as the consumer, the one consuming the information, to realize that just because you had 3 days of bliss, because most of the time, look, you go to a 3-day retreat and you're in bliss most of the time. It's fun. It's amazing. You're in the bubble. You're surrounded by like-minded consciousness, and the frequency and the energy is putting you in that space. The trick is to not go home and then to lose all that and then to feel like a failure, or to take that one sentence and then run with it, to really inspire people to say, I really want to get to the depths and to the depths of this concept. Because in that deep dive, in that the devouring of the information and the taking of it in, that's where you get to actually do the work. Otherwise, it's just data collection. You know, I can read a lot of books and get a lot of great information, but the transmuting occurs when I take it inside, I reflect upon it based on my own understanding and wisdom, really understand what it means, and then do the work around it. So there's some action that goes along with it. So thank you, Linda, very much. How about we go next to Lisa?
Okay, hi.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything, Linda? I
I
apologize.
just had one more thing to say, and very quickly, is that I think there's no better time in our whole history of our planet than to wake up now, because of all the divisiveness. And it's really when you have the true change within that happens to an awakening, then you have right action and you move towards the thing, and of whatever that is, your action. And I believe that this book hopefully will do that for people so that others wake up too. So thank you.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Diamond. And so my chapter was really on transformation with the physical body. And as a breast cancer survivor, although I like to say thriver, 6 years cancer-free, in the community of, you know, people becoming ill with whether it's cancer or diabetes or Parkinson's, whatever they're living with, is that there's such a connection, mind, body, and spirit. And it's not something outside of ourselves that we really need to heal us. We really need to go inside, and we need to do the work. And I will also thank Kate for making me go a little deeper and more vulnerable, which is not always easy to do, even when you've done the extensive work. And, you know, for me, it was taking responsibility about where some of my, how do I say this? Some of my emotionally detached techniques and, you know, helped me create my cancer. But I also knew that, you know, the healing white light wasn't going to heal me. It took full action on my part from both, you know, from every angle, mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I believe it was even Christine who talked about the idea of compartmentalization, and this idea that everything is separate, and or that you tend to like put everything in a box, and that's I think part of why we do that is it's part of the human condition, and it's part of how the brain ends up working. Is the brain can only, the way that we've taught ourselves to work is that we have to put everything in boxes, because the idea of, the idea of holding everything as possible is really hard for a human brain to do without a lot of practice. So I love, one of the things I loved about your chapter was this idea that healing comes from within, not from without. And this is big in our spiritual world right now, in our new age, new thought world. And I think it's very important because healing also is a very individual process. And I think that you talk about that. And I have several friends who are either in the process of going through cancer or have gone through cancer. And they said the same thing. They said, it was when I finally let go of the guilt and the shame around not doing it right, or not being good enough that I could, or doing something wrong, so I must have caused this to myself. I think it's part of an accidental byproduct of the new age, new thought movement. And I know for a fact that nobody intended to make people feel guilty and shameful and unworthy. But part of what's happened, and it's an underlying theme through the entire book, and I think in everyone's chapter, is this idea that it's time for us to let go of our failure of being spiritual enough, to let go of our failure of not getting it, because part of what has come out is I must be a failure if I don't meditate right. I must be a failure if I'm not curing my cancer quickly, because that person over there cured it quickly. And again, this is part of, I think, an overall common situation within humans, is that we have been, in our society, competition and better and best have become so ingrained in our soul and DNA that we just automatically set ourselves up like that. I want to share a really funny story, because this is going to become Kate's and my next book. We thought about it last night. We all have troubles in our lives, and we all struggle. And I said to Kate last night, as I'm dealing with something in my personal life, I said, well, I totally set myself up for this. And we were laughing, because I can picture back 15 years ago when I was dreaming about the way my life would look. And I dreamt this whole picture, and it had to look that way. And if it didn't look that way, as I'm sitting here now, I can tell you right now, it don't look that way. And I said, now I feel like a failure. And I said to Kate, I said, I set myself up for this feeling of failure, because I told myself the only way I would be successful is if that were my picture. And so this is part of the human condition. And what I love about every chapter in this book is that that's part of what we're talking about, is that you with this book and with the deeper understandings of every chapter, you're getting permission to go, oh, whew, I'm not a failure. I have an opportunity to really understand this deeper. And that's what my work is. And it's okay that I haven't gotten it yet, or that I bought into that 142 character sentence and forgot to read the other 9,000 characters after it. So I love that. So thank you so much, Lisa. We're going to go to Trina, and then Susie. Yeah.
What you're talking about is the spiritual platitude of you create your reality.
I know, that's my fault. Sorry. I can totally take responsibility for setting up the notion that it's all that you create reality. I have a funny story from Amit Goswami I'll share about that. And he said, again, it's been so long, sometimes I can never remember if it's in What the Bleep, or if it's in Down the Rabbit Hole, or if it's just something he said and I didn't put it in any movie. But basically he says, really, we're all co-creating reality. We're all doing it as a co-creation together. And most humans, most people on this planet don't have the capacity, they have the ability, but not the capacity to truly affect matter. Because if you think about what that actually takes, like from a scientific perspective, it takes mastermind. And I don't know a master. I've met pretty much every cool guru on the planet. I have met everybody who walks out on stage and says they're a master, or you might think they're a master. And I can tell you, I have seen them lose their cookies over the wrong type of coffee, the ugly green room chairs, being late for a flight. We're all human. So it requires an immense amount of experience to go mass to mass. What you are creating is your experience of it. You get to decide how you feel about it, which goes back to my chapter. It's absolutely true that we have the complete control at any moment to choose our experience. How do we choose to experience this person? In my chapter, what I say is that doesn't mean that we get to just let that other person treat us badly. So that's where the you create your reality comes from. So we're going to go with Trina, and then Susie, you're going to end it for us, if that's okay. Okay, Trina, tell us about your chapter.
Hello, everyone. It's such an honor to be among this group of authors. Thank you, Kate and Betsy, for inviting me to be a part of this book. So my chapter is on conscious leadership, and my background is business and media. And I, basically started my spiritual path about the same time that I started managing other people. And what I found over the years is that it takes a lot of practice to be a good leader. It takes a willingness to make mistakes, admit our mistakes, love ourselves in spite of our mistakes. And really with this new shift in, I want to say there's a shift in the business paradigm and how we do business, moving towards the feminine, as was mentioned earlier. And this idea that love can coincide with business, spirituality can be a part of business, and that when we recognize that, we actually become stronger, more conscious leaders. And so my chapter, I felt that, the meme was, I practice mindfulness, so I'm a conscious leader. And, it just isn't that simple. And I know from decades of trying. So I just think that, again, it's a journey like anything business. One thing that's a little bit discouraging, and my company's name is Conscious Good, is how freely the word conscious is now being co-opted without people really thinking about what does conscious mean. And so I really, part of me is like, wow, we have this name, I still love it and want to embrace it, but I really do want to educate people on what it means to be conscious and what it means to be a conscious leader. And at the same time, admit I'm in the process of discovering every day what that really means, and hopefully stepping into a role, one, to set that example and lead by example. So.
I love that, and I love the giant plane that's going over me right now, so I'm just going to let that pass. I love that idea that I meditate, so therefore I am. Okay, first of all, I don't meditate. For those of you who know me, like if I tell myself to sit and meditate, like within 10 seconds, I'm like, so I tell people when they go, well, I'm a meditator, I go, great, I'm not a meditator. So I'm a walker and hanging out in nature. That we all have our journey and our path, and I love that you continually, and I work with you a lot, Trina, and I love this about how you show up as a person, that you embody the notion that we're all a work in progress, and that part of, to me, what I see in your chapter and what I see in you is that part of being a conscious leader is being a listener and a willingness to adjust and redirect and go, oh, I'm showing up that way for this person, and I can make an adjustment here, and it doesn't diminish who I am. It doesn't make me less than of a person because there's a way in which I can be a better leader for this person. And that's a powerful message for leaders, regardless of whether you're a CEO or you're a mom or you're, a president of your book club or whatever you might be, is that part of, I think, what again comes out within this new thought, new age movement, is there's this weird idea around perfectionism, around getting it right and having the answer and being the one who said it. And I love that that's one of the things that you really point out in your chapter, and in my experience with you and with Conscious Good, we're all a work in progress. And when for me, a huge chunk of freedom in my own life came. Kate is laughing. I need to know why. She had that. Kate gets this laugh, and there's only one. This is a specific type of laugh. So I know the face, and she has to share what she was thinking when I'm done with my sentence, because I know that look. But what a big chunk of my freedom came when I said, oh, I think it was Linda who said, there is no end game here. I'm never going to get there. So I can be okay with the work in progress. And then it gave me permission to be okay with, you know what? I really messed that up. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me and let me try again. All right, Kate, what was that?
They say confession is good for the soul. Well, no. When you said, we're all works in progress, my first thought, yeah, but not me. I'm already there. So, okay, I confess.
I love that about you, Kate. This girl.
Oh shit! And thank God we do have Cameron. We don't have him online, but he did a whole chapter on that whole thing about perfectionism.
I know.
And thank heavens, because we've all,
Hear a little bit about that for his chapter.
Well, bless his heart. He's an incredibly psychic being, and he became a spiritual teacher and became a very successful spiritual teacher. And then his pressure of his own self-judgment about, well, how can I be up here on stage teaching people? I'm not an ascended master. I'm not enlightened yet. I still drink. I still like women, I still and so he walked away from the whole gig and became a webmaster, which is how Betsy and I met him, because he was the webmaster for What the Bleep Do We Know, and then he was the webmaster for my online magazine Global Intelligencer, and on and on and on, and then he disappeared. And where he disappeared is the years of the bleep and other stuff. He finally grappled with that whole issue about his need for perfectionism, especially as a spiritual teacher. And he's like, wow, okay, I can't walk on water. I'm a work in progress. So he finally woke up to that and went back to his real natural forte, which is as a spiritual guidance counselor, and he's thriving, and his chapter is very layered, and the nuances, and the beat goes on about, that striving for perfection. It's not over. That gig isn't over. He still struggles with it, but at least now he keeps going back to that. Yeah, okay, I am a work in progress. This is okay. So yeah, I was thrilled that he was in the book.
So I just want to give an update before we go to Susie. We are now in the top 10,000 of all books on Amazon. Yay. And we are in the top under 2,000 in self-help, almost 2,000 in religion and spirituality, and number 10 in internet and social media humor. And I put it in that category.
Interesting.
Because I wanted, part of the reason the cover looks the way that it does is because in our current society, not just in the New Age world, but just in general, we have taken social media and allowed it, a lot of us, and I think we're coming out of this now, so I don't want to generalize, but for a while there, if it was written in the first 142 characters on social media, it was truth. And this is not just in New Age, New Thought. This is in health and wellness. This is in politics. This is in everything. And part of why I wanted it to be there was because my hope is that people that are looking in that area will find this book. Because my goal, not just in terms of New Thought, New Age, and our spiritual journeys, but in every aspect of our life, that we will always be willing to dig a little deeper before we run with it, before we decide that it's truth. Because there's always more that we can learn before we dig in our heels and be right. And so that's one of the reasons why I put it in that category. All right, Miss Susie, tell us about your chapter.
Awesome. So just for context, I've been on the spiritual path for about a decade and a half, and I've always had a mentor, and I've always taken responsibility for everything that I do on my path. And so when you approached me with this book idea, I was like, yes, because I believe in integrity, and I believe that what we speak should be backed up with our actions. And so I grew up Mennonite, and that was a pretty close-knit community. And in that community, I observed people helping each other out. Now, there were a lot of other things I observed too, but one of the things I take away from that experience was a community where we loved each other, we supported each other, we helped each other out. If someone was sick, the pastor went to visit them and take food, or, you know, whatever. It was a very, very different from how most of the world operates today, right? So my chapter is about this idea of utopian societies, because I know so many people in my spiritual world who want to create healing centers, eco villages, you know, they have these utopian ideas of, you know, we'll all live together in this commune-like thing, and we'll all love each other and get along. And I'm scratching my head going, well, that's great in theory, but like most people don't even have the skills and the tools to know how to do their inner work. When a conflict arises, how are we going to do that in community if you can't even do that for yourself? So for me, this idea of utopian society, I love it. Look, my sole mission is to restore heaven on earth. So I'm all about utopian societies. But before we get there, we have to learn how to confront things that, you know, the issues that come up in our face. We have to learn how to communicate honestly with each other. We have to learn how to be transparent with ourselves and be honest with ourselves. Like, there are these fundamental skills that we need to have before we think we can come and create a sustainable community together. So I wrote about that in my chapter.
I love that, because, you know, one of the things that I've always said raising kids is that nobody teaches anybody how to, like, we have a brain and we have a body, and a big chunk of the new thought movement for a long time was that our body is this sort of meat packet and it's this horrible thing, and we should, and our ego is bad and our brain is bad and all this stuff is bad. And so we had to get through a lot of that. And part of my mission is to teach people, okay, you have a really cool tool here. It's pretty kind of awesome. I mean, look at this. It wiggles, it dances, you get to have sex. I mean, it's pretty darn awesome. Now, you have this brain. How do you actually use this tool in a way that creates heaven on earth, that gives you that experience of enlightenment? It's not that this is all getting in your way. This isn't getting in your way. It's the tool that you use to get there. It's the car that you drive to get to Starbucks. You know, that's the way I've always looked at it. So I love your chapter. I want to just give a shout out. So I don't know about you guys, but I've been popping back onto my pages and checking my comments. And I just want to say, first of all, hi, Ben Fama. Thank you for watching. Trisha Kelly. Wait, I got to go back there. Trisha says, Linda, right on. Books that are written by research and few by experiences of their miracles. And she says she likes the part about the, you know, the minute teachers, she called them, sharing the new truth or awakening to a new concept, but they don't really get them in their depths. And then on my other page, somebody made a quote that I kind of really dug, so now I got to go find it. His name is Nu Shin, and he said, it's not all we need is love. It's all we need is pure love. Thank you for leveling the game. And I love that. Thank you, Nu Shin. I appreciate all your comments. Does anybody else, raise your hand if you see any of comments on your pages that you might want to talk about or share or give a shout out to. And if not, that's okay too. My people are talkers. They always have something they want to say. So they always want to tell me something. In my feed, Lisa raised her hand. No?
Yeah. Hey,
Okay.
Betsy, I just wanted to let you know, and I found this when I released Shine Beyond Cancer in February, is there's a topic, Amazon's hot new releases. And the book is number 94 in self-help hot new releases on Amazon today.
Will you take a picture of that? Take a screen.
I will.
Yay, we're going to get there, because you know what? This is really important. I'll just end this by saying, just so if everybody that's on this feed, all of our wonderful authors here, will put the link to buy the book in their comments. So it's everywhere. But it's time. Part of what's going on in the greater world and civilization is that we're really, I feel, and who am I, but, you know, some blonde and, you know, in a red kimono thingy. But what I feel like is we're pushing out now we're done with the spiritual bypass. We're done with the tropes We're done with the cliches. As a civilization, as a species, we're ready to go back to depth. We're ready to go back to meaning, and we're ready to go back to human connection. And that is why this book, to me, was so important for Kate and I to do. And I really hope everybody reads it, has some big aha awakenings and some juicy laughs and giggles and some moments of pure freedom from shame and guilt and to love of self. So with that, Susie, thank you for hosting. You are so amazing. And I'm going to ask Kate, do you have any final words? And then we'll let Susie close us out.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who is in the book. It was an astounding honor to dive into the depths with every single one of you, and every journey was a gem. It just blew me away, and really just, you know, we talk about we're all one, and then we all show up, and I see myself in every one of you, and I know that the vision is mutual, the give and take, and it's just so wonderful and gratifying. And, you know, and that's the journey that we see all of us, myself included, actually growing and seeing our vision show up on this earth, you know, as you say, heaven on earth, Susie. And so we're all part of the process, and I'm just really glad to be part of that process. And, you know, the only thing I wanted to add, Bets, was that it's like so much of what we do to bypass is so we don't have to take responsibility because we feel so much all the other stuff. And it's just like, and everybody stepping up and taking responsibility and shining a light is just, that's where it's at. So thank you one and all for doing the dance with me. I sure enjoyed doing it with you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Lisa, Trina, Linda, everyone who showed up today, my beautiful fellow authors. I just want to say, for those of you who are still watching with us, if you are on the spiritual journey and you're struggling, if you're not having an easy time of it, I just want you to know that you're not alone. All of my fellow authors here can attest to this journey can be challenging, and all of the spiritual platitudes, as we alluded to before, it can really have us shame and judge ourselves for it not being easier, or for, you know, we're not having a better experience, or we haven't manifested this or that yet. That's not what the spiritual journey is about. It's not about manifesting things. It's about tuning into your heart, your soul. Who are you? Why are you here? How does your soul want to express through you? And I really believe this book will give you, it's like a cheerleader for you on your spiritual journey. It will give you some guidelines as well as some hope. Like, hey, I'm not alone in this. And for those of you who are sharp and who know that a lot of these spiritual bypass things are BS, you'll be validated as you read this book. So definitely order the book. The order link is in the comments below this video. Order it today so that we can really get this message out there, because the more people who order it, the larger reach we have, because it, you know, gets ranked higher. So buy the book today and support all of the authors here, support the messages, and we appreciate you for showing up today in our live stream, and also those watching the live stream. Thank you so, so much. All right, so.